said he always wanted to get back to the ranch, and this was his own on a ranch.
Where's you actually from?
Chris Petty, I'm not sure.
Missouri. Somewhere in Missouri, yeah.
And I,
Quit?
Something in resignation, yeah. Oh, yeah.
yeah, snowball.
Okay, where'd you find that?
Man, it's been a pile of stuff that's sitting here.
Okay, we'll go ahead and
Maybe
call the meeting to order. Additions, I have a couple of the Smoky Hill Service Center. Is that the contract? The agreement, interlocal agreement. Need to look at that, and then, Chris Petty's resignation letter. Tony's calling. Hello? Yeah. Okay, we was just checking. We went ahead and started. Okay. Yep, alright, bye. He is on his way.
On the additions, I guess I'd have a couple of follow-ups from last month. Actually, three would be the movie policy. I don't know if you've had a chance to write that up yet or not, but that and the weight room policy.
The what?
The weight room policy?
We don't have a weight room policy,
We don't have one at all.
not specific to the weight room.
Okay. Well, anyway, it was as far as additions, those.
But isn't that in the, don't have that in the handbook though, the procedures for it?
Movie policy.
Oh.
Nothing specific. Not that I saw in the handbook.
Well,
As
what
far as
was it?
supervision,
Yeah, that, didn't we have that down somewhere? We talked about the, fact that there was to be no one, I thought we read that somewhere.
I thought we had something. See,
Okay, well, maybe Mr. Steiner was here too, we can ask him what he recalls, because I was thinking we went over that, what it was. Consent agenda, so they have a chance to look at that. Any questions on any of the?
I have a question on a couple of abbreviations if I can find them. Is KSDE, Kansas State Department of Education, and then KASSP?
that's the Kansas Association of Secondary School Principals.
And the other one I had, was the football jerseys. Was that the jerseys we bought this year?
Yes.
The ones that they.
Oh, yeah, they're just getting around the buildings.
Okay.
Any other questions? All right. Not,
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
it's been moved, is there a
I'll
second?
second it.
Any discussion? All in favor, raise your hand. Anyone opposed? Communications. I would like to, visit a little bit about the convention. I think this would be a good place for that. I was hoping Tommy would be here, but, and maybe he'll get here, but I'd like everybody that went to kind of maybe give a, kind of an idea what you took away from it, or what you've seen that you thought might I guess if you don't have anything, then that's okay, but I think it would be, Dan, what did you have anything that you'd like to?
I went to a Fort Hays State one, it's technology and what the Chrome can do for you as far as education. Technology is moving way forward in the technology area, and education is right there with it. These guys will come over and talk to us for free. There is all sorts of educational programs out there for free, and this is what they do. This is their job. I got their card, my bag's in the car. I
Oh, you
went out
got your
and get it.
Christmas presents in there?
Yeah, I got the bag in the car, and it was just very, very educational on the technology aspect of what's available for education. And I think it's just something that we really need to look at.
Yeah, I mean,
Can-
in light of, and that was what they were pushing, at least that's what I got out of most of it, was they were, you know, embrace technology and use it to your advantage rather than try to fight it there's a lot, like she said, there is a lot of stuff out there that the teachers can use if they want to.
For free.
That's really what they're pushing. I mean, there was a lot of different sessions on technology and different ways to use it. And then I went to the finance, did you go to the finance?
No, I went to
Went to the
facility.
finance one, and they were, you know, still, they're thinking after the first of the year, we'll have a ruling on the lawsuit. So they didn't really give us one way or the other what they thought was gonna happen. I went to the Acacia one, and I went to, we're the only state, he said, in the nation that tracks how many hours the students are out of the classroom going to extracurricular activities. And they want to keep that to a minimum. Why? He said, well, the parents and people will complain that we can't start functions, you know, any earlier than a certain time. It's because we don't want those kids out of the education part of it. You know, that's important. First and foremost is their job is to educate the kids. I went to the one on school violence.
Bullying.
Well, you went to the
I went to
bullying
the
one.
bullying.
And I went to the one with the highway patrol when they put on, and gave, you know, a few ideas of what you need to do for, to be ready for something like that. Hopefully you never ever have to use it, but I was trying to think if I remember what else I went to.
Mr. Hickle, do you have anything?
Well, I think the two biggest things, is we need to look at having Facebook and Twitter, school district having a Facebook and Twitter page. And so that would be something we probably need to talk about and look into, to develop those things. You know, we talked a lot about trying to communicate more with the public, and that would be the way to do it. And as I said, that's what especially the younger people use anymore. So that would be the one thing, I think. And then the other was that several comments were made that maybe it's time to reassess the way we are using our technology. In other words, a lot of, I shouldn't say a lot, I know some districts have started bring your own device type thing. Kids use their phones in class, the teacher tweets with them, you know, as part of the assignment. So that might be something to discuss, talk about with the staff, and also that would require a kind of a change in policy, change in thought process.
For, you know, when that guy was, excuse me, saying about how he used it and put the assignment or whatever he was teaching, had somebody record it and then put it on YouTube so that if you didn't catch it in class, you could watch that over and over and over until you did get it.
Yeah, it was.
It was interesting.
Did you have anything else?
No,
was
those
main?
were kind of the two main things, I think. That would be part of it.
think the buzz of the weekend was definitely technology. And like Mr. Hickle said, I think creating a Facebook page and a Twitter account to get in touch with not only the students, but the community, to, you know, have a place for them to go to and see what we're doing. I know one superintendent, like when they had I don't remember what it was, Scholars Bowl or something that they, you know, had done well. He took a picture and put it out there and kind of gave them an idea of what they'd done, and just the activities and the good stuff that's going on in the district, and to give the parents a place to go to look at that stuff. He said, you know, we had talked about it a lot, and one of the things we was kind of concerned about, well, you know, what happens when somebody posts something bad out there, which it's bound to happen, and that's what he said, that, you know, it will happen and you have to be prepared for that. He said he's had one negative post in 3 years that they've had it, and that's he was the superintendent at Lynn? No, not Lynn.
Maryland?
Me too, haven't seen him. Well, anyway, he just insisted that is something every district should have, and he said it's gone really well for them, and so I think Mr. Trickle's right. I think that's something we need to look into, as far as even if we have to. I know we have some ideas, even if we had to hire somebody just as a part-time to help us get that going, and even maybe maintain it for us if we got them, you know, maybe look at something like that if we don't have staff that has time. I mean, you know, we have a lot of things to work out to do that, but I think it's something we should look at. And then Tommy and I went on visits to different schools in Wichita, and one of the most common things that I noticed from everyone, whether it was elementary or you know, brand new school, magnet school out north, was virtually every one of them, when they demonstrated something to us, they had some type of group activity with those kids that in other words, they might be in a class, a tech class, where they develop their own music, but when they present that project, they have to have a write-up on it, so they not only are getting the tech, they're getting their English, you know, part of their English, the writing of it, and those groups then presented that for their grade. Almost every school that we went to, in one class or another, had that, you know, a group project where they had a gamut of stuff, whether it's math or physics, you know, they used the write-up, they used the math, they used the whole technology and everything to present that. So I thought that was pretty interesting, and I know we do some of that, but it was a pretty common theme. We was just talking about our experiences down there, and what we some ideas that we took away from it. If you got any to add, Tommy, would be good.
Which ones you were talking about?
Well, I just talked about the schools that we went and looked at, as far as we talked about the Facebook page. I talked about the group project seemed to be a big theme when at the schools you and I visited. Whether they was a lower class or a high level class, they all had the same thing. They had 6 of them working together. It was about reporting, it was about keeping track of what he was doing, and it was about presenting it. And that's kind of, you know, that was one of the things. That in one school, every teacher had an iPad.
Yeah. I think that sums up pretty good. I mean, the stuff that we did Friday, and then some of the single day, you know, those breakout sessions we went to, where each of us went our own way and did like a little 45-minute or hour session. And what was the one that I went to, the school?
The safety one with the highway patrolman.
Yeah, that was a really good one.
Mm-hmm.
He had some ideas. One of them was Plain speak in our, when our emergency alerts go out, not code red or code blue, because the responders don't necessarily know what that means, you know, is what our terms of, their code blue might be different than our code blue, code red. They recommend we change our procedure to say exactly what the problem is, like intruder in a building or intruder outside, or, you know, just go over to PA and let them know exactly what the problem was. The green and red was a neat thing that came up. I think, did he say their home ec class made those?
I don't remember, they just said that when, after they figured out that they had locked it down, every classroom had a window in the door.
Mm-hmm.
And so they took, laminated a green and a red, and they put Velcro around the outside of the window, inside the classroom. And then if all the kids, you know, when they locked down, if all the kids were accounted for in that room, then they put the green up on the, in the window, so that when the police came by, they didn't have to open the door and check, you know, they could just go on to the next one. If it was red, there was, not all the students were accounted for in that classroom. And then nobody could see in either.
Yeah, dual purpose, where it also shielded view from outside in.
And then that door, the key thing was if, because his wife had to go outside and key to lock the door before she could go, you know, in to be safe. And they said they always kept the doors locked, but they had a, something
just
in there
like
so the door wouldn't
A
latch.
stopper type of deal, where it wouldn't shut all the way, so it'd still be open and functional. But then when they took that little stop out, rather than going outside and have to lock it, it was already locked, they just took that little stop out, and they could do that from inside, and it would just lock automatically.
Rather than retrofit every lock in the
Mhm.
school, you know, to save money.
I asked about the concealed carry, and, what was his name, Steve
Billinger.
Billinger? Said, as soon as you do that, the insurance companies will drop you. Nobody will touch you if you take those signs down. And the highway patrolman that was giving the presentation, he didn't even want to answer. I don't really want to touch that. That's, he's staying far away from that one.
I also went to a facilities, portion, and, that was interesting. The superintendent from Colby was there talking about, the difficulties they had passing, mill levy or bond to, upgrade some stuff that they needed upgrading. And, well, there's actually three superintendents there, all with similar stories about having difficulty, and ultimately they all got it passed, and every one of them was, you know, the same thing. Basically, when the community knows what it's for and they're satisfied with it's a good reason, they will support it. And I think that's, every one of them had the same thing. You just gotta go out, and you've gotta, you know, you've gotta talk to them, you've gotta make them understand what your needs are, and when they're satisfied with that, it'll go.
Didn't we talk about the most important thing though is breaking it down in plain numbers, so you can, I mean, you can say, a farmer with a quarter of ground,
Yeah,
this is what it's gonna cost you per quarter that you own, or a $100,000 house is gonna cost you this much a year.
that's what the lady from, or the superintendent from Colby,
Yeah.
that's what she did. She broke it down by every taxpayer, what it was actually gonna cost them, so that it was, you know, their form, and they couldn't dispute that. That couldn't be a reason, you know, it's right here, so, yeah, that's a good point, that they did talk a lot about that.
And also, how about, how much of it would be paid by out-of-state money?
Yeah.
You know, that was a big,
Yeah, that was a really good session, I mean, it was, and, you know, we have, when we get into the strategic planning, we have enough big items. Personally, I think that we're gonna have to start looking at some of that stuff.
I also went to a school finance one. It was pretty interesting. It broke down a whole bunch of numbers about, you know, our state aid per pupil and stuff, and what it is now is 38, is that right, Jim?
Yes.
and it's supposed to be 43 something, 44
44
something,
something.
yeah. And
You mean if we got all of our funds?
Yes, if we were completely funded. But it was neat that they, you know, they took that and prorated it back to what it was in 92, or, you know, and they broke it down every so often. You probably didn't bring that bag in with my books.
I have it.
Yeah.
I'll go get it.
No, that's all right, you don't have to get it now. Anyway, I was gonna share that, but I hadn't got it back from Janet yet. A lot of real interesting numbers, and I think what it basically boiled down to is if we were funded at the same rate we were, I think it was 92, 93, basically 10 years ago. Get my term here, but based on consumer price index, inflation and all that stuff, we should, if we were getting the same as we were then, we'd be getting like 6,200 or something per pupil.
Instead of the 38.
Instead of, yeah, half as much as what we should be getting. And I can't quote all those numbers for certain, but if I had those papers, I could,
Right there.
maybe we could look at them later or something.
Pretty accurate.
That was really neat. And then in that same session, they talked about, who put out the report about enrollments went up 6% and
Oh, and the
staff and other administrators
Yeah, it's administration and others.
yeah, has gone up 40% and stuff like that, but somebody else did a study that totally blew that away, and their
Well, the and others is all the
That was
parents.
special interest.
rural
group
10
that they
coaches, and I mean, and it was, they just really broke that down and kind of made a lot of sense of it.
Everyone I went to was really interesting. I mean, it was,
Yeah,
I took something away from each one of them.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I would, I think it is certainly worth going.
If I could remember half of what I was.
Got it.
Well, yeah, and
That'd be
there's
real smart.
100 things about that magnet school I wanted to remember, but
Yeah.
it's just, one thing I would like to know how the district, how the other schools in that district or buildings feel about the funding of it, because that thing has to draw a huge amount of money from the district, because the biggest class we seen was 21. The first
22.
22, and the first class we looked at was 10. And this is a building that will house, I don't know what they said, 20-some hundred
The
kids.
magnet or the
The
valve?
magnet.
Do they charge tuition?
Well, they didn't give us the numbers. They just
I thought they said it was built for 800, or maybe that was their goal, was 800.
no, their goal was 800.
Okay,
Their goal was 800. Their enrollment was 600.
650. And 65 buses.
Yeah, that was their thing. 65 buses is what they run for that. So, it would be interesting to see how they do that. But, okay, well, anything else we have to add to that? I don't know, maybe we incorporate some of this in our, later down the road in our strategic plan as far as, or how we start doing this stuff. But there's some of it I think we need to start looking at, now.
Yes.
You have something to add then with that, or?
No, I would just encourage everybody to, I didn't make a whole bunch of copies of it, or any copies of it, but I'd encourage anybody to come look at it, because there's a lot of really interesting numbers.
Maybe one break, if you make copies. Okay,
Or-
Nancy, make a copy.
I don't think she'll be able to do it on break.
Oh, is that big?
Yeah.
Alright. Okay. Alright, transportation report, Bob, here. Principals? I noticed you had one made.
Yeah. All right, Thursday we'll have a safe program there in the auditorium. It's seatbelts are for everyone. Junior high basketball team, or the B team basketball tournament is this weekend, December 14th at Phillipsburg. First game's at 9 o'clock. The Hill City High School music program, junior senior high music program will be December 16th at 7. The student council is sponsoring a guest speaker. We'll have Skip Yao coming in on Friday, December 20th. And he'll spend some time with the kids that afternoon and just,
What's he gonna do? I mean,
I've
what's he?
heard that name.
he's the Jam Sports
Sport,
founder.
Yeah.
Yeah, he'll come in and just do his presentation. He's got different speeches that he gives around, so I'm guessing on leadership and, just getting after it.
He's pretty neat guy.
Yeah, he's pretty funny. And then also on Friday is the end of the first semester, which is crazy to say how fast this semester has gone. And we did host our Scholars Bowl tournament today. One team got third and the other team got fourth, so they ended up playing each other in the consolation round.
Oh.
And then the MCL Scholars Bowl will be Monday, January 6th, and that will be at Stockton. So, that's all I have.
Not a lot at the grade school, things are going along very well. As you're aware, we had our concert last week. The last day of the semester on the 20th, we'll be showing movies in the afternoon, probably 2 movies split, K2, 3, 6, or K3, 4, 6, I don't know exactly how we'll do it yet. But do that.
G-movies.
Okay. Do you have anything on board members?
Oh, out at Oakley, we were short, one person, we had to get them on speakerphone, so it was like pay bills and that was, basically nothing else. I was home by 9:30, normally it's 11:30 when I'm home, so.
Sure.
We went by and seen Mr. Chaplin. Spent about an hour and 15 minutes with him. Right.
You didn't tell him.
No, sorry.
We told him that we threw you under the bus.
Yes,
And
we
did the
did.
meeting and we went to see this, yeah.
We just told him we were the only ones that wanted to see him.
Thank you for
He
that.
looks very, very good, very well, and he is very high-spirited. He's got feeling in all extremities, right? Starting to move his fingers and his toes. And he loves visitors. And he loves getting stuff from the kids at the school. He did mention that. They got a bunch of letters from Mrs. Hart. And,
Some cards, and
Yes.
different things that they've been making, yeah.
yes, and he,
Wesley
Rehab,
Rehabilitation
yeah.
Center.
yep, and good luck trying to find it. If you need to find it, call. We'll tell you where it's at.
What is
It's
it,
like 13th and
383
something, isn't it?
West 13th.
8303.
So if you go to Tyler,
West
And take
13th Street
13th.
North.
that's the best way.
Yes,
Tyler to 13th.
I think what I noticed the most about him was his optimism.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he was, and Joni also, that things were just getting better every day and kind of keep,
One day at a time.
Good.
He's doing very well.
and he, as long as he continues to show progress, even
And
next
it's on,
steps.
and I think that's the 12th. This Thursday is gonna be a big test for him, I think. On the 12th, I think they were gonna do another reevaluation or something, I think.
I didn't
think that was on his board, yeah.
I thought it
often
said
they did
20th,
it.
but
Well, the 20th was his release date, right?
That's his
projected
projected
release
release
It was
date.
the 20th, and she said that would depend on how he's progressing on his tests.
But if he kept going and he kept getting better, he could stay there as long as he wanted.
Mhm.
You know, I think that the high school teachers are doing excellent on getting things to him, because if they could keep that up, he really, really, that keeps him going,
Mhm.
to hear from the kids.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, while you guys was out doing that, I should update you on what we did. The legal stuff that was up for amendments and or approval from KSB was the negotiations process and the tenure was an issue. They have been looking at this stuff and they've had everything from, wanting to get rid of tenure to not changing it at all. And basically what they come up with is they changed one word in this process, and that word, which escapes me,
Preponderance.
preponderance, instead of, help me.
I lost that
What's,
No, I got it. Anyway, basically what it does is, if we wanna eliminate a tenured teacher, it's gonna be the exact same process, it's gonna cost the same amount of money. But when you get done with the process, it is more relaxed on the ability to remove them, if you need to, by this one word change. It has made it easier. Right now, it's virtually impossible, you know, you just, it's hard to do. By what they changed, it is possible to do it, although the process didn't change any. I mean, I think it's gonna cost a lot, isn't that kind of what?
We should also say that nothing's been changed. This is the KASB
Right.
position,
Right.
lobbying position.
It has
For
to go
this year.
before the legislature to do it.
Yes,
Well-
this what they've agreed as what they want to push. Now, whether it gets approved, that's a good point. It may not get, but this is KSB's stance on it. This is what they're going to the legislature with.
What the membership voted on.
Yeah. And then the other thing was negotiations. They changed that a little bit, but it wasn't anything drastic on it either, I don't think, was there?
Well, the big thing on that is that their position on that is to get together with KNEA and try and find a reasonable,
List of required
Yeah.
negotiated items.
They wanna eliminate the unnecessary ones, but they don't wanna upset the teachers. So their thought is they're gonna get with them sometime soon, they've talked to them, and try to come up with a common ground on that.
But there's the required negotiated items, I mean, that have to be on there. You can add, so even if you shorten that list of required negotiated items, you could still
oh, yeah.
add them back if it was an issue to you that,
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, do you have anything else to add to that? They elected the president-elect.
given
Is
that,
that it?
you
It wasn't that one lady, was it?
No, it was actually Darren, the one guy, he withdrew, so they only had one. See, when I went down to Topeka, there was two that we nominated for consideration, one withdrew in the meantime, and I can't think of his
Was
name.
it the one that sat by me and then left?
He was actually the one I was gonna vote for. Yeah, that was him.
said why you were.
His first name, you remember it?
He was sitting in one of those sessions and I went and sat by him and he looked at me and got up and left.
Yeah, it totally scared
He
me.
had a cup sitting on, there wasn't very many chairs left, and he had a cup sitting beside him. And there wasn't anybody else sitting there, 'cause we watched for a little while. Carl went and sat down in one seat, I kinda stood there and he moved his cup and I sat down and he looked at me and left.
Well, alrighty then.
All right, I guess that's all I have. Superintendent's report.
I don't really have anything to add, except that I'm glad that the four of you were able to go, and I hope you learned a lot, and it's worthwhile doing.
It really is.
Yes.
That tour, I wish we could get, I wish Mr. Stein could get, I wish we could all go and Mr. Stein go. It's just, it was really awesome to see the way the different approaches to things are, and it gets you outside of, you know, our box. I mean, it's just a neat, really neat thing.
I was gonna, remember I talked to you about it a little bit the other night, but if everybody else wanted to, I'd kinda like to do that in our own school, you know, for all of us to, I know it's a little bit of a disruption, but I'd kinda like to see some of our teachers in action, and some of our classrooms while they're full, you know, and if it's possible.
What kind of, I agree, after doing that, you know, you hear students talk about teachers and that kind of thing. It would be nice to go see them, even, you know, see them at their best, if that's what it is, if they know we're coming, that's, you know,
Well, that's what you saw there.
well, I know.
For,
Exactly. 'Cause
definitely.
they did, however,
May or may not be a typical day in the classroom.
right, no, that's exactly right. But at that magnet school, they didn't even, he had a whole list, they wasn't sure, they knew he was there, but they didn't know which classes was
Yeah.
gonna go in, so,
So they say.
yeah. So maybe we could look at doing that sometime.
I'd like to, I mean, you hear about the classroom sizes and how rowdy some of the classes are. Just think it'd be good to see them in action sometime.
Yeah, the way they did it there is knocked on the door and opened it up, and all 18 of us come in, stood there. They just carried on like what they was doing and watched for a while and then left.
I didn't think it was too intrusive, but I mean, it wouldn't
It
bother them a whole lot.
Well, it's something to look at for sure. Okay, if nothing else there, we need to amend Mr. Stein's contract with the insurance change. We can no longer pay that, and correct me if I'm wrong, so basically we're going to pay him, and then he will be responsible for paying the insurance instead of us.
The employee.
Is that correct? Yeah, the employee amount. We did similar thing to Ms. Tripple's 2 year, or year,
Yeah, a year or two ago.
Year or two
It was
ago.
required to do.
with the changes in the healthcare world.
Everybody has to do the same thing. And currently, for all the rest of the employees, there's an employer amount and an employee amount. The employee pays their amount out of their salary, and then the district pays the employer amount. Well, for administrators, the district had always paid the entire amount. So it's just a matter of moving money, really. Still gonna be the same amount, except we increase the contract by the employee amount so that that's paid by the employee rather than the district.
Yeah, it's not an increase in funds at all, or
And we'd be able to keep the same policy then?
Yes, everything, there'll be no change really. It's just a, you know.
Where the money goes
just-
first.
Yeah, it's a matter of semantics, I guess.
So,
Doesn't really matter.
how
What do you
does this need to be worded?
just, do we know the exact amount, or do we need that?
Well, I think the exact amount that Nancy gave me for the remainder of this year, which would be through June, would be $2,500.20.
So we would need to amend his contract, add that much.
I make that motion.
Okay. It's been moved.
Second.
Second. Any discussion? Raise your right hand. Anyone opposed? Okay, out-of-state requests, we have a couple from the FFA to the livestock show and leadership conference. One in the first in Denver, the second in Washington, DC. Anything? to add?
No, it's just that Washington Leadership Conference, I think they've been attending every year, and they usually, the alumni try to give scholarships for that, I mean, kind of help pay for some of that. And then the livestock show is for the students that, as like it says in there, that went above and beyond to sell when they were out selling fruit and stuff like that. So this is kind of the reward trip that they generally take to do something, so this is something that's been done in the past. I think they went to it, 2 or 3 years ago, they went to the livestock show.
You need a motion to approve that.
Yeah, is there any discussion about that, or any other questions?
They pay for it all themselves?
The district pays
Other
us.
than the
District
alumni?
District provides transportation.
Transportation.
But they pay
And
for
pays
fuel.
for the advisor's expenses. No, they don't pay for the fuel. The district provides transportation. The fuel cost comes out of the Booster Farm account, FFA Farm, whatever you call it.
I'll make a motion to approve the out-of-state travel request for the FFA to Denver and Washington DC.
Been moved. Second.
Second.
Second, any discussion? All in favor? Raise your hand. Anyone opposed? Carried. Strategic planning session, I did, before we look at that, wanted to thank everybody that was able to attend, either part or all of that. Really appreciated that, and I thought it went, well. I did send out a thank you letter to all the, I didn't send one to you guys, cause I thought you'd lots rather hear it from me direct, but I did send out a thank you letter to all that participated in that. We just got this, Friday after, was it Friday or Thursday?
Thursday, right before the concert,
Right.
just got it in there.
So, I don't know, I guess the thing to do would be to, for us to look that over, and I guess I would like the thoughts of, to me, we're gonna have to schedule a special meeting for us to get this wrapped around this and what we're gonna do in the direction and the things, and we've got a lot of things to figure out, and I don't think we're gonna be able to do that in, a regular meeting. I think we're gonna have to dedicate an evening to it, and at least one to get started, and then,
I mean, like, just take this home and go through it and bring it.
The first few pages there, the first one is just kind of an overall goal of what the strategic planning was and kind of what the overall results were in word form. And then the other, like this page, was the activities that we went through, as you can see those next three. And then the final one is kind of a culmination of what all the groups put forward in each of those areas. So that might be the thing to kind of look at as far as, something in front of you. And then I think our task would be to discuss the areas and kind of make a determination as to which areas you want to focus on. And then Alan and I, probably along with a couple of faculty members, would kind of get together and put together some kind of a roadmap to achieve those things, bring it back to the board for approval and input and that sort of thing.
but I think we need to decide our focus, we've got a lot of things to figure out as far as the direction we want them to go, and we gotta tell them, we have the information, but it's not gonna do us any good unless we as a board sit down and decide this is the direction we wanna go, you guys get us here. And that's what we need to take the time to do. So I don't know, does anybody have any thoughts on that? Kind of the way, where we go from here, how, I think, I don't wanna wait for a long time.
It's the tough part about this time of year, but I think we all just have a few days to look it over and get together and talk about it.
Come up with, everybody just kinda look it over and get you a feel for what each of you think, and we can have a meeting. We'll maybe look at the calendar, it's gonna be a tough time, there's so much stuff going on, but
And next week is loaded with concerts, ball games,
yeah.
and then it's Christmas.
But maybe is anyone leaving for extended period of
A computer and a touch screen.
Yeah.
You know, an iPad isn't a computer, you can operate it somewhat, but like all of our stuff is Windows-based. And, you know, that's a little bit of an issue. When we start incorporating the Apple, plus there's no security on those things.
Well, there's more than just iPads too, I mean, there's
Right.
other.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I mean.
Notebooks or.
And also, I mean, the efficiency is one thing, the time that, I mean, look at these books, the time that it's taken somebody, I know it's an expense, but, you know, somebody's having to do all that stuff. And Jim, and, you know, and the paper, and the books, I mean, there's a lot of things to, I don't think it's,
Well, couldn't the notebook or the little thing do the same thing
the
as an iPad?
Yeah,
Yeah, oh, yeah.
yeah, there, I
You
mean,
mean
and
the
there's
Windows-based?
tablets out there for
Right.
$300-400, they don't all have to be the
No,
$700 or $800 iPad, but.
Can you bring us some prices?
Sure.
yeah, I think that would be good,
I
just
mean,
look, I mean,
this
it's
is
not.
this
The
is, like I
community
said,
said
a
they
first
wanted
step.
more technology.
Yeah, this is a step, this is, I mean, you know, we gotta get on board or we're gonna get left behind.
Oh, so
The
that
other
when
thing,
you're not
we
here, we
can,
can do
we
the
get our
FaceTime.
Facebook page
Yeah.
up
When
there,
we're
and
doing
do
this,
it,
yeah.
and see
I could
what's happening.
FaceTime from my tree stand.
There we go.
Well, that wasn't what I had in mind.
I was gonna say, and not when you're driving either, you're pulling up as you're driving.
All right.
What not to do.
Board policy update.
As I was going through looking for the policies on the weight room, I came across this policy that I have in here that just needs to be updated. Had Dr. Paul's name and our old address on there. And I guess just it's a no-brainer, we just put superintendent of schools and our current address on there. Employment opportunity, non-discrimination policy.
I'll make a motion, we amend.
GAAA.
I will second it.
It's been moved second, any discussion? All in favor? Anyone opposed? Carried. Let's see,
You guys started early again.
Smoky Hill Service Center,
Just received this today. Every 5 years, the districts that are part of the service center have to, I guess, re-up with the interlocal plan. We are a charter member, have been ever since it was Fort Hays, Fort Hays Service Center, Educational Service Center. As you're aware, we have a lot of services through Smoky Hill as far as professional development as well as others. We did some bus training through them this year. The consulting that we get with our networking from Sean, a lot of those types of services through Smoky Hill. So I would recommend that we go ahead and approve the interlocal agreement. It's partially based on FTE. I should know what that runs. It's like $6,000 a year or something like that, or is it that high? I think I don't know exactly. There's so much FTE. And like I say, it's pretty much invaluable as far as professional development that we get through them. And looking at other service centers around, we're also a member of Southwest Plains through the Oakland Service Center. I mean, we don't pay dues to the Southwest, but as far as costs, they're very reasonable compared to other service centers around as far as daily rates and that sort of thing.
So we need a motion to approve the interlocal agreement?
Yeah, if you wanna do that, or if you wanna wait till next month and take a look through it, but, my recommendation wouldn't change because it's the closest one to us and they provide a good service.
Has any of the agreement changed? I mean,
Is all this the same as it has been in the past?
Yeah, it's all exactly the same. The only difference is on that very back page, as far as property. There were some districts, I think Salina and maybe Gypsum and Abilene, maybe, I can't remember for sure, that when they purchased buildings in Salina for the service center, they put money into that. So if the service center would happen to dissolve, they would have some property interest in those properties. No other property they have is owned by any districts. So if it dissolved, it would just be like any other business, it'd be sold off. And I don't see that happening.
I'm okay with it.
Need a motion?
I'll make that motion.
It's been moved. Second, any discussion? All in favor? Anyone opposed?
I would say, I forgot to mention, if you're interested, they sent this packet along that kind of explains a lot of their services. If you'd like to look through it, you're welcome to, but I didn't copy it.
Okay, the next item, we do not have a policy on. Stan, do you have anything to,
I might. Is that the weight room?
well, both of the,
You need like a break to go.
Supper break?
yeah, let's
Cause
do that.
I'd kind of forgotten about that, but I did do some work on it, so I have some.
Let's take a
some
break and then we'll let Mr. Hickles put together his.
For you guys, these are some raisins that I picked up at the show that you can get, and they're flavored. This is they're raisins, orange burrs, take your handful.
They're golden raisins.
They're golden raisins, this is
And I don't like lemon.
We
a
had,
sour lemon,
we had to rent a U-Haul to get Janet out of the expo.
this is a watermelon
She had 4 bags
shot.
full of stuff,
That's-
loaded up.
I mean, you know, if you're gonna go to that, and then, I mean, try them.
Was it Carl that didn't want the lemon, or was it
Yeah.
you that didn't want the lemon? 'Cause they
I'm
didn't
gonna try
like
the
raisins.
watermelon.
I don't like raisins.
It wouldn't either.
What you mean?
I have.
Did
I
you
tried
even
it.
try one? Did you even try it? Oh, they will count as one fruit serving.
One?
Right, yeah, one fruit serving.
Well,
Try the
yeah.
watermelon.
Is this for like lunches?
Yes, yeah.
Kids would eat that.
Yeah. Carl wouldn't.
Carl wouldn't eat it that if we had shoved it down his throat.
No, I think that's what was going on over there.
I didn't try the orange.
I could've caught him
That
holding him down.
watermelon's good.
You couldn't even get down the stairs. You
Well,
were-
taste
I didn't know.
Carl, it doesn't even taste like a raisin.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
why,
You know, I've heard that a lot. You know, you can't even taste it.
That's
Why
what-
put
But is it,
One fruit serving. Yeah.
I mean, like,
What are the
in order to
ingredients?
get,
Is it Obama safe? you
well, I
think?
mean, in order to get those flavorings, they'd have to change it some, and so it's like, what are they doing to change it?
I have all the
You ever
facts.
seen
did the lemon,
You ever
did
seen
the
the
lemon
Skittles
taste like a
commercial?
lemon drop?
It just pops out of a rainbow.
I didn't taste the lemon.
Skills are healthy.
I know in my bag. I have an
They
orange.
always eat on the
Told me to
sideline.
grab.
Football
Yes,
team.
I have my
Like that.
apple.
Well, it's like, you know, Mountain Dew, you're not supposed to drink Mountain Dew because it's like
Yeah.
What was it?
What's the name of that place?
flammable, whatever it is about Mountain Dew.
Remember you guys thought that was a drug test?
Yeah. Was it a drug? Yeah, it was a
EpiPen.
drug. I was thinking it was either a drug test or
It's-
pregnancy test.
It's, hand sanitizer. And it was at a drug testing place though.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I thought
TMHC.
this was, yeah. The drug test. I thought it was a drug test. I'm like, oh, you guys, it's a drug test.
Just lots of sugar.
I like the one that-
TMHC is the company that we're with.
Is that who we're,
Yeah.
and then they were looking at artificial turf down there
Oh, here's the name of,
and Carl told Tommy we're gonna have to buy a
I
special
don't know how it,
lawnmower.
why it got ripped.
He's like, it grows!
Only when it rains. So we wouldn't have to worry about
It's
it.
a
Yeah.
thing. There's a lot of
what I said.
stuff out there.
That, on that artificial turf, what would
Yeah,
keep
they just
the
shook their
sand in the dirt around this part of the
Is there a lot of
country?
sugar?
Second.
You know, filling it up
Golden raisins.
and not having anything. They said, well, that was how you maintained it, you had to put sand in
Those are
there.
good.
So,
Yeah, put it in there and drag it around.
And this is something that they recommend goes up in all schools for bullying. I don't know, we might have it, I don't know, you can order them. Oh, it's the bullying one. Bullying is more than physical, verbal bullying is the worst.
Cyberbullying's probably the worst.
Cyberbullying and verbal bullying. There's the, this is the PowerPoint on it. It's the only one I got a PowerPoint thing in. Yeah, I gotta teach these guys how to go through a vendor's thing. They don't have a clue.
No, I hate taking stuff off of, she didn't mind. She was just loading up,
Usually you have to talk to them for quite a while.
not her, she just went up, took her, figured
Well, you
four
wait
pounds.
until there's like a group of people and they're talking to them, and then you go grab the stuff and take off.
Yeah,
What are you gimpy for?
Oh, age, cold weather, and mixed is not.
don't
a
even
thing.
start.
Me, me cold weather, don't even go.
One of the things I was gonna tell you guys that I didn't, when we were talking about it, there was a website that they showed us. IPSR, excuse my writing, I'll stand it up and hold it right at the same time. KU.
That's why it's around.
The guy, the presenter was a K-State grad, and he said the same thing. I don't know why I'm telling you guys this, but KU has some really good stuff on there.
Who was that telling you
I
that?
think I'm gonna throw this orange out, send it out in my car.
Which guy that was? It was,
Oh, the finance one? The,
yes. It has 57 pages of data for every county in the state. I mean, everything. It's incredible.
That'll either be really interesting or.
Yeah. Pack a lunch and drink some coffee. But, you know, you can, I don't know, there's lots and lots and lots of stuff. You know, if you wanna compare your mill levy and stuff, to everybody's around you, total evaluation. You can-
Well, I have to say, everything I went to was interesting, it wasn't, you know, I got a little bit of something
Yeah.
out of everything.
I'd say the least one was probably the highway patrol one,
Mhm.
but. when it
Because
was-
like we talked, he was referring back to
Yeah.
the older stuff, not.
Yeah. He gave a presentation on school violence, and not once did he mention Sandy Hook. His whole presentation was Columbine and the Virginia Tech shooting. Didn't say anything about Sandy Hook. So I'm thinking,
Illuminated.
yeah, he probably wrote his presentation about 2 years ago. I think changed it. Yeah.
I don't remember, what did he say, when he got into the, public, you know, the,
Oh, yeah, it was a while ago, wasn't it? Like 4 or 5 years ago, or 7 years or something. He's been a highway patrolman for over 20, I think he said.
you know, in that facilities, one I went to,
Mm-hmm.
2 of the 3 that talked, that was part of their improvements, was they all put, you know how when we walked in, and
The
then.
double doors and.
Yeah, you had to go
yeah,
through the office to get into school,
Yeah.
that's the way, that's part 2 of the 3, that's what their, part of their improvements were.
I think I'd still
Safety.
like to do that here, at least at the grade school, I think it's.
But the problem is, we don't have any way of directing them through the office.
No, but you could still make it, that second one secure, where they gotta be buzzed in.
You know,
It'd have to be something like glass doors.
What's that?
You have to do something with all the glass doors, you have to either put bars in them or half doors.
Yeah.
That,
Yeah, they're just
they're
going
gonna, I
to.
mean, I still think some of them are gonna come in, that's what they have to be down there on the north entrance or.
Yeah, that's the, yeah, I agree, it's hard to say that, you know, yeah.
They're locked with their glass.
Right.
Well, I think in any case, if somebody wants in bad enough, they're gonna find a way in, it's just if we can minimize,
Where
you know,
they
slow them
go.
up or.
Get the warning out quick enough.
Yeah, but it'd still be nice to screen who enters.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
maybe they're not gonna shoot anybody up or anything like that, but to just have the front door open, if Melanie's got her back turned or something, and they can just walk right in right now.
Well, there's a lot of other harm that people can do to kids that doesn't require shooting them.
Yeah.
Well, very true. We're just talking about the music, this, Valley Center, they added a, digital, aspect to their music program where the kids do digital music and they do it on their phones and then an iPad and a computer. And then they, you know, they have different projects with it. And they said that they went from, what'd he say about this music sections, they hardly had enough to fill them, now he can't make enough of them.
Yeah.
Just because the kids that don't wanna go sing, but like music and are tech savvy, he said it went nuts. I mean, he can't have enough sections of it, which is good. They showed us two of their projects and they were awesome. It was really neat.
I think the most difficult part of the whole transition would be the teachers as far as getting them.
For sure. But you know, this guy said he didn't know nothing about it when he started.
Yeah, and he actually said that Apple, did he say they sent people out and trained?
Yep.
How
And
to
he
use
does
these?
all his stuff
Well,
with
it means
free
money for them
apps.
when they can sell more
Yeah,
iPads and more.
Yeah, usually, cause
more
I hate to say
technology.
that.
No, that's exactly right.
They'll
though.
show you how to
That's the
use
whole
it.
point of the thing. Where are we going and what do we need to be doing to our kids? That's what we need to be doing, cause that's where it's going.
Yep.
And it just,
What, didn't he say they have 12 iPads and 12 computers, is that right? And
yeah,
like in a class of 24, you'd have 12 on the iPads.
yeah.
But the iPad project, they had to have two different projects going at one time, because the iPad projects would not, at that time, transfer over onto the computer, because there's no flash drive on an iPad. You can't just, work on it and save it and take it over to the computer. And then the iPad software only had 8 tracks, digital tracks, like shared around saxophone, blah, blah, blah. But the one on the computer, the software on that had 24 tracks. And they were,
He said the most amazing thing was the type of kids that he reached,
Oh, yeah.
through this. It was just, it was kids
The ones
that-
you wouldn't think that would go
yeah,
out
I
for
mean, they
music.
just went nuts over it, and I gotta
Teach the
say,
kids that there's more positive in the technology than the negative and the
Well,
drama
that's
that.
Well, and there's productive uses of technology
Right.
and not just let's text my friend who's sitting right next to me, all the time with this nonsense. Let's have productive.
kids have also abused notepads to write notes and pass around, it's just a matter of,
Of channeling that energy where it needs to be instead of encouraging them to do it.
I think kids are gonna do whatever they want now anyways. I think we've seen that over the last 10 years, that's just, kids graduating from college, you don't have a job. I mean, fine, I'm not gonna do anything then. I'll just sit here and collect, government assistance or whatever until something, that's just the mentality of kids these days. They're gonna search for their bliss in whatever they want to do. You're not gonna tell any of them what to do.
And one of the neat things was, about the same time, there was about 3 or 4 guys says, well, how do you control what happens if they're doing something they're not supposed to? And the guy says, well, you tell your teacher to get her butt out of the chair, his or her butt out of the chair, and you walk around and monitor what they're doing. That's how you prevent them doing stuff in class they're not supposed to.
And pretty much if they got it like this and they see you get up and they go like this,
Yeah.
you know you got an issue.
Dead giveaway.
All technology can be traced, so if you think that a kid is having problems, you can go in and see what they're doing, exactly where they're going, what they're doing with that throughout the entire class period. If you really are concerned and you wanna know.
Yeah,
Did he have a deal that he could see what all the kids were doing? His computer could see where these kids were
Well,
going on
that-
some of those.
That was on the class that I think every student had an iPad.
Right.
Which was pretty, they was well ahead of the curve. But the other ones, he simply said, the teacher gets up
It's old fashioned.
and yeah, I mean, you get
Walk
up,
around the
you
room.
walk around and look.
Look at their
where-
screens.
I
what
think
they
all
doing.
kids like to create something, like their music. When they're done, they have something, they have
That's
something
exactly,
unique.
and that's what I took away from that.
It's
is
visual, it's
so
right there.
Yeah.
project oriented, when they're done, they had something, they had a report that showed where they started, what they did to get there, and
When you were, before I got here, did you mention anything about recording the lessons?
yeah.
You said something about that?
We did talk about that. Yeah,
Okay.
about,
How you could record the lesson and then the kid could go back and look at it as many times as they want to get the,
To make sure they understand it.
yeah, he said, he'd pick somebody out, of course, they all had their devices, and he'd say, I want you to record this for me today, and so they would record the lesson, and then when they was done, he would get it out so that every student could or parent could access it.
well, did we,
Yeah, that was an important thing, so the parent could watch it at night while they're helping their kid with their homework.
Run it and said, record me.
Done all that,
Yeah,
Kenny.
yeah,
thank
It's not a
you.
need,
Yeah,
actually.
you got it forever.
right.
And then it also backs the teacher up, where they can't say, you're not teaching my kid, well, yeah, I am. Here
Well,
I
he
am.
had a
Yeah,
website or
here's
a
my class lesson for today and yesterday.
YouTube or a
They got
Facebook,
their own YouTube site.
but I mean, didn't he have a deal we could go to his?
Kevin Honeycutt, something. Right?
You can put them on podcasts on iTunes too.
Yeah,
Duke, Cambridge, all those colleges, put them on podcasts.
another example was preschool or kindergarten, she showed how to make a letter F, so what she did was, she filmed herself doing it so that the parent knew what language, what they were called, so that the parents was teaching the same thing as the kid.
She did that on her own, the teacher did that on her own, not,
On her own Facebook page.
right.
Yeah, it was on
That's something you don't think about. It
Right.
makes sense.
There
I
was
think
some
that wouldn't be
good
that
ideas.
hard to put into place, even with just the technology that we have, it's not like we have to go get new technology,
Well, that's
We
like I
already
was,
have it and
that's
we
what we
just
was
use it.
talking about, like the music thing. If you just got one iPad or one Mac or one computer, and just start somewhere, whether that would be we start in the 5th, 6th grade with developing some of it, or, it would just be neat to see our kids, getting that kind of, doing that kind of thing.
The third graders provided the gingerbread men and the ornaments for the trees.
See, we could put that on our Facebook page.
Yeah.
That is exactly the kind of thing he's talking about. It wasn't all sports, he put very few sports things, it was the things that didn't get the notoriety that you're, yeah, the good things the schools are doing that no one knows,
What third grade would want to see that?
Yeah, they'd be awesome
Oh,
if
they
they seen their
have
work.
to bring them over here every year.
Oh, the gingerbread houses?
No, they made their little ornaments this year.
Did you know they did that?
Oh,
No, I didn't. I'll have to
We
tell
both
them.
have third graders, and I never seen it. Oh, yeah, you did too.
Okay, so take them, their names are on the back, and you need to find
We
the,
saw
take a picture with your phone and say, what's your third grader's name?
It might have been.
Ben, Caleb, and Georgia.
Right, and you said the thing.
Have my present.
They're not up there. The only one's not up there.
Did we already?
They drew other pictures. Maybe they did those over there.
Yeah, they're all in the same class. Maybe they did these
Oh,
ones.
I don't know where it was.
Are they really all in the same class?
I skipped over it all.
Well, these don't have names on.
Gabrielle.
Or, I can't, wait a minute, there's a
'Cause we got-
GEP
No, I got
and a
information
KO
on that.
and a GB.
That's Georgia, GB,
Yeah, sorry.
or Grace Beaker.
EH, TB, AW,
See, now I could take a picture of that and have it on my Facebook page before we're done, but I don't know what good that would be. They'd be like, "Huh."
You don't have any friends anyway.
I know, that's why I said, I don't know what good that would be. Okay, but that's a good point, I like that, that's exactly what I think that would be for. And, you know, our strategic planning meeting, we talked about almost everything come back to the community and the students' involvement. And so I think it all would tie together. Good.
An important part of the message that I got, that I took out of it was, you don't necessarily, I mean, you know, be humble, but don't toot your teacher's horn, don't toot your administration's horn, toot your kids' horn, brag your kids up.
Yeah, this is what we're doing.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, they mentioned, you don't wanna, go nuts with the patting on the back and all that, but
Yeah.
you do wanna let people know.
You still,
Okay, on the additions, I think I skipped over, Chris Petty's, resignation. I need to, have a motion to accept that.
He said 6 months.
And that did say, now, right, or immediate?
It doesn't say immediately, but
So I've accepted another job.
He's moving in 2 weeks, so.
he's moving, he's moving in 2 weeks.
Yeah, the 21st is what he had on Facebook.
Okay,
so
so,
we don't replace him right away, or
yeah,
we do?
we do, and we'll need to talk about that too. But we need to,
I'll move to accept his resignation.
it's been moved.
Second.
Second, any discussion? All in favor?
I thought we were discussing, that's what we were doing.
Anyone opposed? Okay. Now then, we have some options as far as what we do there. Typically, I think it's advertised for applications, and then we bring those back to board, and we ultimately appoint somebody.
Oh, really, we get a pick?
Yeah.
To the position.
How long do we advertise?
I
Just a
think
couple
that's
weeks
probably
last
up to
time.
us if we,
Wasn't it, Mr. Hickle?
What?
Wasn't very long last time, it was
Well,
like
the-
couple
Well,
weeks.
the statute doesn't specify amount of time, you're supposed to do it in a prudent manner, so it doesn't have to be my next month, but, it needs to be,
That's what I say, if we
no
run it in
less
the
than
paper
2 weeks for sure.
Right.
today or tomorrow and next week's,
We're not gonna get in
Tomorrow.
Why?
Got to wait.
It's already done.
But
Monday,
they
'cause
just
you gotta have
put-
him Monday at noon now, I think. And he kinda.
We could do it for 3 weeks and have him back by the 13th, we could do it for 4 weeks.
If we,
You can do it various ways, I guess. If you want them to submit some kind of a letter explaining why they would like to be on the board, you can do that. You can have them just submit their name, and then you can decide from that. You can have them come and interview. come to a board meeting and tell you why they would like to be on the board. I mean, it's really up to whatever you wanna do, how you wanna do it.
I have a question. If we only have one person interested, we don't necessarily think that person, are we obligated to take them?
No, I don't think so.
Well, I think we gotta fill the position, but we can, that's, you know, at that point, that's when you, hey, you know, we need some.
We'll go out and seek other people.
Well, we just need to, we need to get some interest, you know, as far as,
We need to advertise it, that it's available.
Well, that, and I think it'd be like Stan said, you know, if we have it in, our meeting's on the 13th, they have to be in by noon on the 10th.
I think we should be able to go over it the sixth at our special meeting.
well,
I wouldn't rush it that much. My suggestion would be to put it in the paper, you know, with the intent of making a decision at the February meeting.
I agree. Take
and I
application
think
till
it would
January
be nice
31st.
to have something saying, I mean, we don't wanna make it so hard that we,
Right.
no one will do it, but
Just
I'd
a
like to
name
know
and
why they're,
why they
they're-
wanna be
why
on
they're
it.
running.
I can tell them we'll give them an iPad.
Loan them.
That's what I'm.
Starting them rumors.
You guys gotta get off that iPad. Tablet.
Tablet, that's what I'm.
Take a little short note.
Just,
Yeah,
Yeah,
just a letter of interest.
yes.
yeah.
Yeah, that would be good. That
Write
would
your
give us
name and a
little
letter
bit
of interest to USD office.
And we need to have a deadline.
January 31st.
Yes.
So it's the board meeting's the 10th of February, so that's getting a little bit of time to get them all together.
And that'll give us some time to see what we're, you know, how much interest are we getting? Do we need to go out and try to
Well,
drum
and
up some
since
more
we're
interest, or?
at
Can we
large,
recruit?
we don't have to,
Recruit?
we get the whole.
Right, doesn't have to be.
Yeah,
We could probably
district,
encourage
yeah.
someone to say,
We
you
want-
send your letter of interest
I mean,
in.
if we think we got the right
You know,
person,
someone
yeah.
that-
I mean, that's part of our, we want the
And
best.
just to let you know ahead of time, any discussion you have has to be an open session. Can't go to executive session to talk about it.
About who the next member.
Right.
An individual. So when
You
we,
cannot go to executive.
so when we review, yeah, cause that's only for, when we review the letters or whatever, I mean, that's gonna be an open session, so.
Like I said, you can ask them to come in and talk or not, and just have to make a
I think we
decision.
just need to see what we get, and if there's a couple, when we have them come in, we have them come in. If not, if we already know, then that's what we do.
We put the deadline the 31st, what, 10 days?
Yeah.
Make it happen, Carl.
So you want 2
You tell me.
weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks? How many times do you want me to put it in there?
I would like however many
Every
times.
time till the December, till January 31st.
Okay,
Would be the last one, it was, I'm still looking at April. I need to
January
review that
28th.
calendar.
what are you looking at?
28.
Right.
Okay. Is everyone okay with that?
Yep.
We'll do.
Okay.
That's done. Let's see, the supervision of students, this is
Okay,
in our,
this is, I'll tell you what I did. I did this, got this information and then kind of forgot about it. Got so busy. But anyway, the supervision of students, which would be, which should apply somewhat to the weight room, I guess. We do have this policy in our handbook. This is talking about supervised students shall be supervised by school personnel when they're in the jurisdiction of the school. So, you know, people coming in outside of the school day isn't under the jurisdiction of the school necessarily. But what they do fall under is the use of school facilities by community groups. Individuals are also considered a community group. And I'll just, you know, there again, I'm not gonna say all, but many school districts do not allow people just to come in and at will and use their facility. There's a process that has to be followed, just like we do for soup suppers, use of the auditorium, all those kinds of things. An application needs to be filled out, it should be approved. If there's any kind of rental fees, those should be paid. So, to me, people coming in to use the weight room after school hours, unless they're with the rec, which we've already kind of have an agreement, gentleman's agreement with them, that they will supervise that, then they should come in and fill out a request to use facility. And then it would be up to the board then to determine whether or not there should be a charge for that. That's my take on it. And we do have both of those policies in effect now, in our policy book. So, I don't know how you want to proceed or discuss, but
Well, it sounds to me like the gray area is the rec. If we let them use the facility, then they are required to supervise.
Well, I think the question didn't have anything to do with the rec. The question was initially there was somebody up there lifting unsupervised. That didn't have anything to do with the rec.
Right. I mean,
That's,
it could-
that,
It is kind of a gray area because it's all the rec let in or what, you know,
Yeah.
I see what you're saying about a gray area there, but
Who let them in?
But if it is the
well,
rec,
but if
then
they're
you
supervised,
gotta
the rec
start
needs to be,
following the
right.
policy.
well, we haven't had any problem with that.
The rec doesn't even use the weight room, do they?
not that I'm aware of, I don't know. The agreement with the rec is that they have a key to the buildings, and any activities that they have, they will supervise it. It may be Chris, it may be somebody else, but an adult is responsible from the rec to supervise whatever activity is going on in the building. Now, I can't say if that happens all the time or not, but that's what it's supposed to be.
Even if it's adults in the,
An adult, like, okay, say for instance, I was the adult in the rec and Chris says, hey, would you supervise the weight room on Tuesday, Thursday nights? Okay, I'm the supervisor. So there's an identified person that's in charge of making sure it gets open, make sure it gets locked, everything gets put away and cleaned up.
And that's the person that
everything.
checks out the key. Or puts in a request.
Well,
I was thinking like our Wednesday night basketball games. You know, pick
Well,
up
next
games
rec.
when it's,
But there's usually somebody
but is
that,
everybody from the rec there?
Well, no, but there's 10 adults there.
But not rec adults.
well, you used to, when we had volleyball, a person had to check out a key.
Right.
And
At
that
grade
person
school.
was responsible if things didn't get put away. And, you know, there were times that they played the 7 o'clock game, and then they get somebody to do, you know, the 9 o'clock game, get stuff put up and get everything locked up. But there was somebody that was responsible for it, whoever signed that key out. But now, I don't know what's going on in the weight room, and who's signing keys out and how they're getting them, or any of that.
I don't either.
Well, I guess one of my things I thought about was, do we have a set time that the weight room's open so the kids know and they can just be there at that time or they don't lift? I mean, to me, that would be the simplest. I mean, you know, otherwise.
Mornings, isn't it, before school?
Sometimes.
I guess I don't know.
Okay,
Who's
the,
in charge of the weight room?
well, we
Kyle.
have a supplemental for that.
Is that his
And that's
supplemental
Kyle,
for
so-
during the school year, or is
I
that
thought-
the
I thought it
summertime?
was summer weights.
That's what I thought.
I
Yeah.
don't think that covers,
During the school year, that was summer.
Evenings, I don't think so.
or even mornings
Supposed to
before
have it.
school.
I think it's 2, 3 mornings, and isn't it?
I thought it was summer though, but I don't know what's
I
written
thought
in
that
there.
was just during the
So
summer.
It's
I
in
thought the
there.
supplemental was for the summer, is what I had understood, but I don't know that.
It's in here somewhere, I think.
Yeah, it should be this.
Yeah, there's 2 weight supplementals, September through May and June through August. There's 2 separate ones.
And then
So
at the
there-
bottom, doesn't it?
And it says, let's see, weights, open the weight room at least 3 mornings per week during the school, 7:30 to 8. In the summer, open weight room at least 2 hours per week, day, excluding holidays, 6:30 a.m. to 8:30 a.m.
So during the school year, it's 7:30 to 8 is all?
3 days a week, yeah, that's what it says.
That's not really enough to do anything.
Well, I think, I hate to, I mean, I want the alumni and those guys, my personal thought is they should have access to it when they go through the right, when, I don't think any individual ought to ever be in there looking by themselves, I think that's extremely dangerous.
Dangerous.
we're going to get a key from somebody.
Well, but I think that
They can show
the
you
person
that.
in there isn't the issue, it's the person that's giving them the key if the right procedure's not followed. And I think that's what we gotta make sure is happening. I mean, to me, I don't think we've got a big problem, except that sometimes that's not being followed.
Right,
I
sometimes.
mean, I don't think we have to overhaul anything.
And that's one of the reasons, a couple of years ago, we went through and we redid all the locks. Because we didn't know how many keys were out there to everything.
Well, I have no idea how many keys are out there to the weight room, I can tell you that. By the time I got here, there were keys everywhere, even
Yeah.
with the new lock.
And
So,
seeing,
what we tried to do initially, and it, you know, I know there's a lot of people that have keys. Last year, the board approved the policy that teachers are directed not to loan their keys to anybody. Okay? That was supposed to take care of that problem. If they're giving keys out to people, I don't know, that's an issue. Then we gave them 2 keys to the rec for each facility, one for Chris and one for another person that could help supervise. That was what we were supposed to do. Then there was a key in each building office for other people to come in and check out. That's the way we tried to set it up. And I don't know where we are now. I know we do have people come to the grade school and check out the key.
and that might be for Wednesday
when
night
they need
volleyball.
practice. And
Or-
then we have a little key box there, and you stick it in a box when they leave. And, you know, I don't know if other people are going in there on weekends, and I'm not up there all the time.
Well, I haven't heard of any problems like
No,
that.
and I,
think
you know,
it's-
initially, a month ago when we brought this up, it was that some of the kids were getting keys, you know, and coming out there, or the door was being propped open for them. To me, it just looks like, I hate to say this, the kids need to be told no if they can't be supervised, you know? I know the kids want to lift, and that's why I'm saying if they had a set time, you know, if a coach or whoever said, be there at 7 o'clock in the morning if you want to lift. If they're not there, then they don't want to lift. You know, it sounds cold, but rather than coming to them after school, hey, I didn't make this morning, can you give me a key or something, I don't know.
Exactly.
That's what I'm thinking kind of needs to happen, versus trying to accommodate them and letting them in there when they shouldn't be.
Mr. Stein, do you have anything to add to this discussion? No?
No, I mean, I don't. No, I mean, like I said, I don't know who's giving the keys out. I mean, like I said, Jim made it clear that, you know, they're aware they're not supposed to be giving their keys out, so, they just need to be reminded, it sounds like, that they need to make sure they keep their keys and not turn them over to students. Now, the weight room in the mornings, like I said, I know Mr. Joke is usually there by 7:30. Now, I don't know if he's there every morning at 7:30, but I know he's aware of some of that. But like, you know, Tommy said, 7:30 to 8 is not a whole lot of time to get a lot done. But, you know, I don't think that the time needs to be adjusted, because, you know, I don't think that's irrelevant. And then the after-school thing, I mean, you know, we got coaches that are coaching, you know, throughout the evening, and I mean, I wouldn't ask them to come back and open the weight room, because I mean they're spending enough time away from their family. They need to spend some time with their family.
Well, I
So,
think it.
That thing
I think
about
morning is the only,
I agree, I wouldn't expect them to do that either, but on the other hand, I'd expect them not to give out a key to.
right. Well, that's what I meant. I mean, the coaches and teachers need to understand that their keys are not supposed to be loaned out, and that's why I said I think they need to be reminded of that.
Well, and I don't think the propping the door open thing, because, you know, we do, you know, the weight room, and I don't think any individual should ever be in, I don't
No.
care, adult or anybody alone should be in there in the weight room, but, so maybe you can remind them of that, and, you know, does anybody else have any thoughts or
That'd be a
anything?
good start.
Okay.
Just, I guess I will add a little bit, but I wouldn't be against it. if Mr. Joker would agree to it, to maybe try to get him in at 7 to 8, and I wouldn't be against giving him a little more money to do it, because 30 minutes isn't really enough time to do a whole lot. Maybe he would be willing, maybe he wouldn't, but I'd like it if he did.
It'd only have to be 3 days a week too, probably. I mean, they're not gonna lift every day, probably. I mean,
No, most of them.
I do think we have kids that wanna lift.
Well, we should do what we can to.
Maybe get a consensus of the ones that would be interested, you know, before we,
And I know last year, I'll just put that, last year we had a group of freshman boys because they couldn't take weights as freshmen, that they were in there, they were lifting there, I mean, about 3 or 4 times a week. This year, you know, a lot of those kids are in weights classes now, so there is not that big a push because this freshman bunch, I mean, like I said, you said Everett wanted to lift, but other than that, there's not a push by any of them to want to lift.
Because they're doing it in a class, or they're
No,
just
the
not-
freshmen aren't in a weights class, they're not, they can't.
No interest.
But, you know, there's just none of that outside interest to, you know, for a group of them to get together and go lift. You know, like last year's freshman class, there was 6, 7, 8 kids that were getting together and showing up every morning, or the mornings that, you know, that they worked out with Mr. Joko or Mr. Schultz, and they were in there lifting. This year, it's like I said, outside of Everett, I haven't heard of any other freshmen that have wanted to, or have the drive to, I guess, is probably the other thing after being around them.
that's what I'm saying, before we maybe have Mr. Joka do a survey of the ones that
Yeah.
would be interested
If
before
you-
we
if
go
you've got
saying,
enough.
this is what you need to do. You know, maybe ask them. All the freshmen have to take PE, freshman, sophomore, don't they?
No, freshmen.
Just the freshmen,
Mhm.
but I mean, you know, he can ask his classes, who would be interested in coming in 3 days a week? If I come in from 7 to 8, would you wanna do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday? Just get a count. If you don't have any interest,
Right.
Good idea.
you think he'd do that?
Mhm.
Anything else?
Yeah, on the movie thing, we do not have this policy currently, or these are sample policies actually, from KASB.
These are actual policies, not handbook stuff, this is policies. This would
Yeah,
be policy.
these would be district policies. Talking about supplemental instructional videos, movies, and then, of course, there's an opt-out form. Let me give one of these back. If you're showing a movie that a parent doesn't want their kid to see, there's an opt-out form. And then the, kind of the regulation on this first one goes down through, it breaks it down by grade level, elementary, and middle school and high school. And it kind of talks about different ratings and whatnot. Then the other one is a little more lengthy, but also talks about the different grade levels, age-appropriate grade levels, elementary only G-rated, any PG-rated at the elementary requires a signed written consent of the parent or guardian. Junior high level, G-rated without parental permission. PG rating requires guardian notification. PG-13 requires a signed written consent. So the difference there would be, you know, your PG at the middle level, you have to tell them you're going to show it, and then if they don't want it, they opt out. And if it's PG-13, they have to have a written consent to allow their child to see it. And then high school, same thing. So, as I said, currently we do not have either of these in our board policy handbook. it
mean, I don't
would be
think
good to
we'll-
look at it first.
Yeah, I don't think we'll
Think
want
about it, and these are just, it doesn't have to be this, I mean, if you want to do something different,
So
you can
this
certainly do it.
instructional resources, does it go with this policy?
It's
or is
all
just something-
together, I think the instructional resources is just kind of an overview of a little bit of it, and then the news and video, that's more specific.
So this would be all part of the policy then?
It could be, or,
Or you can just make it how you
Thank
want
you.
it, shorten it up.
this talks about what the letter should say when it goes home to the parent. If you're gonna say, show a PG film to junior high, you're supposed to put in there that a brief description of the contents, resource, the instructional objectives, all those kinds of things.
But this is like from an 8:30 to 3:30 type
I was,
This
policy.
is during
Thi-
school.
Right, this has nothing to do with the extracurricular, because we can't really put policies on those, can
Oh,
we?
yeah, yes, that's a school function.
Well, isn't that what the big issue is about?
Well,
That it's an extracurricular activity that the,
I don't know that that's the specific issue. I think the issue is that we don't have a policy at all. And
That's what, yeah, what you're thinking about is what brought it to light, but the
Right.
real issue is
We should have some kind of policy.
the lack of a policy.
well, that's why I said, do we need a policy? Do you feel like we need a policy? Do we have this? Is it a big problem?
I don't think it would be, I think it would be a good thing to have a policy, yes.
I just don't,
Because it's not necessarily saying you can't show those, it's just that it's saying that you're going to provide communication to parents if you're showing a movie that their child is not legally, I guess, would be able to see in a movie theater. I think it puts us in a bad light if we're in there showing a PG-13 movie to 7th and 8th graders, and, you know, we haven't communicated that to the parents, and the kids certainly probably aren't gonna say much about it.
And I
till
think
it's
it goes
over.
back to
Then they're
communication.
gonna go home and say, well, you should see what we saw.
do they still show that one for 5th grade? You still do that?
Mhm.
well, I'm sure
Yeah.
they do, but a letter usually goes home to
Yeah.
the parents or not,
Yes.
Mhm.
for those.
So sex ed, is that what you're talking about?
Well,
The 5th grade boys go in one room and the 5th grade girls go in another room.
The movie.
The movie.
There's notifications sent home
Yeah.
about that.
Well, let's just, nothing is gonna be done tonight, so we can just take this stuff and look it over and come back with your thoughts, whatever that may be. Next time we'll get that on the agenda and we'll decide then what we're gonna do. Sound fair?
Yep.
Executive session.
I have one item for executive session.
How many minutes do you need?
I only need probably 5 minutes, actually, it's just an informational.
Move.
Second.
Okay, it's been,
About 10.
10.
10 minutes, okay.
moved by Kathy, seconded by Ken. All in favor,
For who remains.
raise your right hand.
Has everybody, who all needs?
Yeah. Myself and the board. That's it.
Who sets up the in-services?
The steering committee, for the most part.
There's this for the state university guys,
Okay.
guy. Well, why do we go in there?
We're in executive session.
And then people's needs.
Howdy.
You're gonna have to share those, you know.
I know. You want me to go start it?
No.
All right.
You wanna sign it? Janet's.
Keith told me the other day that he got Dawn. And Keith told me today that Dawn got him back. I said, you know, Dawn's been driving down your street every day since that happened, and he's probably been going by there just so he can jump out and get him. Couldn't wait, no. I figured. All I have left to do is create standards. Clean it up. Well, I've got to get out of my garage and this. The sheet rock, where you cut stuff and you, pieces of sheet rock and cut off 2x4s. I need to get it all cleaned out. I should have done that work, it was nice. I'm not just done my wheels yet. Because I'm going to start pulling up off cars and I think it's not like this, so I need to do that anyway. I'll have these weekend. You want to start this morning? That's why I'm waiting for Patrick to pick me up. It's on the charger. I need to get it out here.
You know, I don't know, like I said, I'm, well, Clinton Johnson, I think, I'm assuming, maybe not, I don't know, if he's been approached by Chris, because Clinton, like I said, I would trust Clinton over anybody, yeah, because I mean, that guy has been in the relationship forever. But, and that sponsorship just doesn't bother me much, so. All right, we'll see you later.
What a messy group. This table.
Yeah, and I just think if we get our little iPads, all this stuff.
No.
Just on the agenda, please.
Did you even see anything?
Learning center?
Didn't shoot anybody.
I got this, Mama.
What? They're on top of the side of the fence. I couldn't get them over there.
Can't sit here, kitty kitty?
No.
Okay, anything else to discuss? If not, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make that.
Been moved, second, any discussion, all in favor, raise your right hand. Anyone opposed? Great.
Okay.
Thank you. You betcha.
Thank you for leaving.
Who are these from?
Well, I think it's
Him.
the school district.
Thank you, Mr. Hickle.
Yes.
Mary, you wanna try any of these?
For everybody.
Stand